18 years. That's how long I poured my heart, my soul, and every ounce of energy I had into that dental practice. I wasn't just an employee. I was the one who built it from the ground up, greeting every patient with a smile, comforting those who were nervous, staying late when emergencies came in, and making sure every person who walked through that door felt cared for. Over nearly 2 decades, I turned a tiny, struggling office into a thriving practice with over 3,000 loyal patients. People didn't come just for dental care, they came because they trusted me. I knew their names, their kids' names, their stories. For years, I thought this place was home. But everything changed the day new owners walked in. They were young, flashy, full of business jargon, and absolutely no understanding of what it took to build a practice like ours. I could tell right away that they weren't interested in relationships or trust. They were interested in numbers. Within a week of taking over, they called me into the office. I remember the smug look on their faces, like they were about to deliver news that would fix their bottom line. One of them, a man in a perfectly tailored suit, leaned back in his chair, clasped his hands, and said, "We've been looking over the books. It looks like you're overpaid." I froze. Overpaid. My mind was racing, but I kept my face calm. He continued, "We need to adjust your compensation to industry standards. 30% less. And no bonuses. It's purely business, nothing personal." That line, "It's purely business." I wanted to laugh in his face. I thought of all the nights I'd stayed late, all the times I'd driven in on weekends to help a patient in pain, all the birthdays and family events I'd missed because the practice needed me. And now, after 18 years, these strangers were telling me I was worth 30% less. I felt my blood boiling under my calm expression, but I didn't give them the satisfaction of seeing me break. Instead, I smiled politely, nodded, and said, "Of course. If that's what you think is fair." They looked shocked, as if they expected me to beg for my salary back, to argue or plead. But I didn't. I walked out of that office with my head high, but inside, I was burning. That night, I barely slept. I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee, staring at the wall, thinking about how much I had given to that practice. They thought I was replaceable. They thought I would take the insult, keep working for less money, and keep making them rich. But if there's one thing I know, it's that loyalty goes both ways, and they had just shattered mine. Over the next few weeks, I worked like nothing had changed. I greeted patients with the same warmth. I managed the schedule, handled emergencies, kept everything running smoothly. But behind the scenes, I was planning my exit. More importantly, I was planning how to make them regret every smug word they'd said to me. I knew that patients weren't loyal to the business. They were loyal to me. I was the face they trusted, the person they had built a relationship with. So, I started having quiet conversations with my patients, slipping little hints that I might be moving on soon. I didn't badmouth the new owners. I didn't need to. All I had to do was plant a seed. "I'm not sure how much longer I'll be here, but I'll always make sure you get the care you need." Patients' eyes widened. Some looked concerned. Many asked for my personal number, just in case. I gave it to them gladly. Meanwhile, I was scouting locations for my own practice. I'd always dreamed of running my own clinic, and now I had the perfect motivation. Within a few months, I found a small but beautiful space, secured financing, and hired a small, dedicated team who shared my values. We worked tirelessly to prepare the new office. I kept my plan quiet, never letting on to the owners what I was about to do. Finally, the day came. I handed in my resignation. The look on their faces was priceless. They were confused, then worried. Wait, one of them stammered. "You're leaving. But, you're the backbone of this place." I smiled politely and said, "It's purely business. Nothing personal." They tried to convince me to stay, offering to revisit my compensation. But it was too late. I walked out of that office for the last time, feeling lighter than I had in years. The following week, my new practice opened its doors. I'll never forget the sight. A line of familiar faces, patients who had been with me for years, waiting to see me. Word spread fast. People trusted me, not the building I used to work in. Within months, my new clinic was thriving, and their practice was bleeding patients. Soon after, I heard through the grapevine that they were in trouble. They'd hired a replacement for me, someone younger and cheaper, but patients didn't trust her. The atmosphere at the old office had shifted. Reviews started popping up online, complaining about long wait times, poor service, and the cold, corporate feel of the place. Their reputation crumbled, and their numbers plummeted. One day, I got a call from one of the owners. His voice was shaky. We'd like to talk about bringing you back. Maybe we could offer you your old salary, with bonuses. I almost laughed out loud. They had no idea how good it felt to hear that desperation in their voice. I told him calmly, I appreciate the offer, but I'm happy where I am. Best of luck. And I hung up. Months later, their practice closed down. They couldn't recover from the loss of patients or the damage to their reputation. Meanwhile, my clinic was doing better than I'd ever dreamed. My patients followed me because I had treated them like family. Because I had earned their trust over 18 years. Looking back, I don't feel bitter anymore. I actually feel grateful. If they hadn't tried to devalue me, I might never have had the courage to start my own business. They thought they were cutting costs, but they cut themselves out of their own success. In the end, their arrogance was their downfall. And the best part, I never had to raise my voice, never had to fight or argue. I just let my work speak for itself. That was my revenge, quiet, devastating, and completely justified. If this story made you smile, hit that like button, share it with someone who loves a good karma story, and let me know in the comments if you've ever seen arrogance backfire this hard. And don't forget to subscribe, because there are so many more stories just like this one coming your way.